Hey, this is Aaron, also known as Alexander Supertramp, and otherwise known as the Dude, and otherwise known as the guy who ruined the whole town. I got that from my brother. I thought it was pretty interesting. Like, to me, it implies like the fact that my ego would be so big to think I could actually do that or whatever. So yeah, this is the first monologue, talking just in my, by myself in the room. It's the first time I'm just chilling and nobody else in the room, or no guest or anything, which is kind of freeing, actually. It's kind of like taking a snapshot of a part of your diary and then essentially improvising over that to whoever the three people are that actually listen to this. And that's me and my cat, and some other person somewhere on the planet is actually listening, which is why I do the whole thing. No, but in all seriousness, that brings up a good point of mine. My good friend had said something to the effect that, we're going to die, and everybody in 100 years that's alive now is going to be gone. That's it. And I was like, well, she happens to teach singing. And I was thinking, and I said to her, hey, what you teach, people will sing, and other people will hear the vibrations, feel the vibrations, and it'll change their consciousness, and for a few minutes take them away from the rut, or out of the rut and away from the daily grind or what have you, being on the teat of the military-industrial complex. So yeah, one of the things I wanted to make sure that with this podcast, what happens is that at no point during the podcast, whenever I'm doing it, should I should keep, and I will keep, a humble curiousness. I'm not an expert on bipolar disorder. I know a lot. I think anyone who tells you they are a true expert is lying to you and themselves. We are just at the tip of the iceberg. Things are happening exponentially faster, and as far as gains in technology, etc. Companies that can provide the products that may or may not help someone with bipolar disorder. So yeah, I talked in one of my last episodes about self-stigma, and what I think that has a lot to do with, as far as how it affects me and maybe my other friends, is that I think a lot of it for me stems from the fact that there's kind of a constant voice kind of, asking myself, my own voice in my head, not from across the street when the boogeyman was yelling at me. But yeah, so it's almost like there's that little bit of a not parrot, but a little bird in my brain. It's saying, is this mania? Is this behavior mania? Do you need to get help? Is this behavior depression? Do you need to get help? In other words, it's like a diabetic who is like, I think I need insulin attack, but I don't know for sure, so I'm not going to take the insulin. It's counterintuitive, and it doesn't make a ton of sense, but that's essentially what happens when you pathologize behavior. When you see specific acts put on by a specific individual, and you think that behavior indicates that this person has, quote, this disorder. Really what's happening is there are changes that are taking place and that occur at the physical level. So you have a physical medical problem. Circadian rhythms, sleep patterns, zeitgebers, psychomotor agitation, psychomotor retardation, generalized anxiety, mania, depression, clinical depression, euthymia, dysphoric depression, full-blown psychotic mania. There's all these different, quote, states, and you're constantly, and the people that you're friends with are constantly, and I'm not saying any of this is negative. I would have continued to do this until I was 39 if there wasn't some evolutionary benefit on a subconscious and both a conscious benefit. So, yeah, I don't like to do that, because really the behavior, that is just a symptom of an underlying cause. So I would like to focus my energy, and hopefully a lot of people's energy that are on the right meds, that are doing well, to dig deep and try to represent the many, many, many among us who are in the shadows. People are like, well, I don't know, the guy's crazy, I don't want to go to his show, he's kind of weird, this or that. The only thing that I think separates me from the other people, honestly, like to tell you straight up, would be the fact that I'm willing to just completely throw myself, metaphorically speaking, under the bus to admit deep, dark secrets that one may or may not even feel appropriate. Just when I say secrets, I mean like, episodes that I've had that with the mania and the psychosis. I think anyone, and this is mostly me, I don't want to say anyone, I think I have a tendency when I speak in public to hold back, And they've been, successful. They've done pretty well. They've affected people positively. And I've been so entranced and involved in the actual act of speaking that I basically the time-space continuum stopped or slowed down. And yeah, it's just amazing. But I originally had a couple speeches I did, or a bunch of speeches I did, not really quote sponsored by anyone. They were at a theater and some coffee shops and a small another theater. I was not affiliated as far as on paper with a logo on my flyer for the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance. It's a wonderful organization with wonderful people. They do a lot of great things. They help a lot of people because of them. I think there's like 30 friends on Facebook, not Facebook friends, but like 30 actual friends I have that are on that happen to be on Facebook that I met through DBSA. Now that I don't want to say cut ties like we had a contract and it's over. No, I just mean this next speech, I wanted to, and I am going back to a smaller crowd. Maybe it's just enough for dinner. I don't have to sell out at 56,000 stadium. That'd be nice, though. But yeah, I mean, even if it's just dinner, even if you're putting putting my mind and my soul and whatnot into, I hate the word whatnot, putting my mind and soul and just digging in like to the bluey good karma of the universe. And instead of, I think another thing for me is ego is not self-esteem. Ego is essentially, ego and depression are both tricks of the, mania and depression are both tricks of the ego. I think it was like 3 weeks ago, I happened to be in a certain state of mind and I just, started watching my breath and I let go and I just, this complete wave of honesty, like William Blake said, when the doors of perception are cleansed, you will see things as they really are. And so anyways, back to my long-winded point about my friend, the singer teacher, what I think personally, and I'm glad she said that because it provoked some deep, deep thinking on my part, is the fact that there is no way that it's not possible. Like every living organism has in some way been a part of an organic spaceship flying through space, and Earth is an organic spaceship. I got that from Joe Rogan. So essentially, we're flying through space, and I just want to say something to the haters as far as people that you shouldn't take psychiatric medication. It's like, really? Well, I had that same attitude when I first got sick. It's an author named Peter Bregan. His book's Toxic Psychiatry, and amongst other books, I had read some of them and got the general gist that any psychiatric medicine is blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, I know that. But the alternative is to die, to have scars all over your body from cutting yourself, or both, or live in agony, or live in fear, or live in shame, to such an extent and to such a severe, intense level of experience that after a certain amount of times when I moved to San Diego and met with Dr. Shola, my mom was like, well, just don't put your head in the oven until I get my next break at work. And I don't know what happened then. I don't know if that was it really, but I remember it as a point, it was an instance where I was like, well, I'll just do it at least for my mom in terms of for myself so that I don't have to call her and tell her these things that I'm telling her. And now that I look back, I'm like, wow, I can't believe how strong. I mean, she is. Wow, I can't. There's no words at all. Nothing that could compare. I won't even use a reference or a vantage point, because it's kind of like the universe. You know, one of the theories now that people are postulating in different circles is that the universe never actually had a beginning, and it never will have an ending. And I was talking to somebody else the other day about, when you feel like you've experienced something before, like literally on like almost every 5 cents is like they call it deja vu. So that's the multiverse theory, that we're existing doing similar things or the exact same things in other dimensions. And there's a lot of other theories about that too. One of which I just completely flaked out on what I just said about 30 seconds ago. One of the cool things about psychiatric medication, you can pick any of the 8 meds that you're on and say, well, it's because of that. Yeah, I've been so forgetful lately. I think it's the lithium carbonate. It is a fairly highly reactive element on the periodic table in the upper left-hand corner. So I just wanted to say to everyone who listens or is listening that every single podcast that I ever will do is dedicated to a few different people at the same time. Justin Klein, Jane Tyndall, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, and all of the other things that inspire. All perception is gamble. Each of us does not have an individual outer reality. It is merely a bunch of subjective realities through different reality tunnels. We are all one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively.